The Beretta 92X performance, let's check it out. The Beretta 92 was designed in 1975 and was highly inspired by the Walther P38, which was a military sidearm for the German Army during World War II. With the open barrel slide design and the same lockup features, this is a very proven design. And actually the first time I really got interested in the Beretta 92 was in Lethal Weapon, and it was just a dream gun for me. In 1985 it replaced the 1911 for the U.S. military as their sidearm, and has served the U.S. military until just recently being replaced by the SIG M17 or the P320. This is still a very viable firearm and still used around the world with military and police. But this is the 92X performance, and it goes away from the alloy aluminum frame to an all steel frame. And there are other features that actually make this an excellent choice for competitive shooters. I mean, it really mitigates the recoil, and then a lot of the controls actually aid with that as well. But this also can make a great self-defense firearm. And if you're a big Beretta 92 fan, you're gonna love the Beretta 92X performance. And we really appreciate GunZoneDeals for sending the Beretta 92X performance, and also the Beretta M9a3 that they sent, that we're gonna be doing some comparisons as well. This is the Beretta 92X performance. This is made for competitive shooters. That's the market that it's aimed for. But it does fit a niche with home defense, but it is a very heavy firearm if you're planning to carry it. This is really made for speed and accuracy. There are a lot of features on here that make it really fast in the competitive world. And one of the things about these all steel frame pistols is they've made a comeback mainly for competitive shooters, and two, if you just like to go out to the range and you love the Beretta 92 firearm, this is an excellent choice to be able to go out and really enjoy shooting it. You would say maybe that this was a stainless steel, but it's really a finish on carbon steel. This is a nightstand finish. It's a nickel tin type alloy, and it really has a different kind of sheen to it. It's really smooth. Now, one of the things for me with stainless steel is sometimes it can gall, and that's with the slide and the internal rails. You know, it just tends to bind somewhat. But before we get too into it, let's go ahead and drop our magazine, check to make sure the gun is unloaded. You get 2 magazines with the pistol, and again, they're both 15 rounds. If you live in a state that restricts magazine capacity, they do offer 10 rounders. But here is my M9a3 17 round magazine, and it fits in here just the same. So again, not really sure why Beretta decided to go with the 15 rounders, but you know, you can use extended magazines all the way up to their 20 rounders. Has a really generous mag well. I mean, look at the cuts. But one beautiful thing is it doesn't extend out past the grip itself. So it's mated into the grip, and it just fits here. One great thing about that, when you're putting in your mags, and you can already see there's a taper here, there's a lot of room for misjudgment. So it's going to be really simple to be able to slide that magazine in really quickly, especially when you're competing. The mag release is steel, and it is checkered. Once you have a grip on the pistol, you barely have to move your grip at all to be able to drop that magazine. And they do shoot out really fast. And you have a polymer base pad to be able to protect your mags. Now this has the Vertec Grip angle, and it's more like a 1911. With the earlier Berettas or the 92s, typically they come down and they have a little bit of a hump right here. With this, it's a straight line all the way down. And then we have some beautiful checkering here on the back and also on the front strap. Now you'll notice here at the grip, it does kind of come out just a little bit, but what that does is allows for your hand to be able to ride onto the grip, and it gives you a little bit of support. And also with recoil management, when I put my support hand here, I like to give a little bit of attention to the bottom of the grip, and it allows for better recoil management. So this helps. Also, you have just some very thin Vertec grips, but it also includes one of the standard grips that you can put on here to give you that hump back if you like it. Here we have the extra pair of grips installed. You can see that it does have that hump. Honestly, these feel pretty good. There's a lot of texturing right here. It's more of like a rubberized polymer. It does feel good while you're gripping it. It does add that hump. And so if you are so used to shooting the Beretta 92s that you don't really like the Vertec grip angle, this will be perfect. And honestly, these are pretty thin. Also, you have a nice beaver tail that's extended past your typical Beretta. You have an undercut here, right at the trigger guard. It's going to allow you to get your hand really up high. You want to get your hand as high as you can up to the bore axis, and this also mitigates a lot of the recoil. But this also has the Brigadier slide, which is a heavier slide, and you'll notice the thickness here with the locking lugs. This is going to give you a very heavy slide, and yet it's going to give it a heavy weight all the way through, but extreme durability. And to give you a comparison, we have a Beretta 92F, and the slide difference, the thickness is extremely noticeable. There is a huge difference between the two. You do have an M1913 Picatinny rail. You have 3 slots. You have what they call the sawtooth serrations. They're actually angled a little bit toward the back, so when you're gripping this, it is very easy to grip. And then here on the front, same thing. These are very aggressive slide serrations, very easy to manipulate. We have a fiber optic front sight that's dovetailed into the slide, and we have an adjustable sight that's fully adjustable here on the back with serrations but a black outline. But guys, at the range, this really shows up well with that red light, especially when light hits that fiber optic, it glows. And also included is a sight tool. Now you're going to notice I have my hammer back. This is a double single action pistol, but it has the safeties right here on the frame, and that is unusual for modern Berettas. The first Beretta 92s had frame mounted safeties, and you could carry it cocked and locked. Now the frame safety is ambidextrous, but one thing about this pistol, it is double single action, but there is no way to shoot this double action unless you drop the hammer manually. So when you load a magazine, and then you rack the slide. And this is the way this gun is going to fire every time, because it doesn't have a decocker. It just has a frame safety. That means you can carry this cocked and locked. But that also means that you're not going to have double action unless you actually grab the hammer and then you lower it very easily with a round in the chamber. And that can be very dangerous, but obviously if you're at the range, you can definitely try that. But this is the only way you're going to be able to carry this double action. And you can engage the safety with the hammer down. So we're going to look at the double action trigger pull, but to be honest with you, it doesn't really count because the single action trigger pull is mainly what you're going to experience. When you pull the trigger back in double action, every subsequent shot is going to be hammer in the rear position and single action. So it's really going to be actually more consistent. Now this is probably one of the best triggers on a double single action pistol that I've ever experienced. And it has the Extreme S trigger. We have a little bit of take up right here and a really crisp break. Now I've compared that with other Beretta 92s and the break is considerably tighter. Now reset is phenomenal. So we're going to bring it back, show you the reset. Right there. I mean, it is very little. And then back. Now, we're going to look at a way to adjust your trigger. It does have it inside. In fact, it even comes with a little Allen wrench. You can adjust your trigger for pre-travel or for over-travel. But on the double single action pistols, you'll only be able to adjust the over-travel. Right here is your pre-travel and your over-travel screw. With the double action, single action, you will only be able to adjust the over-travel. And the pre-travel screw will just not be there. And you take this small tool and you can adjust it to your liking. The double action trigger pull, smooth all the way through, and then a nice break. And guys, it is honestly a fairly light trigger pull for double action. So we're going to check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. We're going to go ahead and do the double action. 6 pounds, 14.2 ounces, and it's consistently about 7 pounds. Then we'll try single action. 3 pounds, 8.8 ounces. 3 pounds, 14.1 ounces. A very light trigger, under 4 pounds. Now guys, with the manual safety, this gives you a place to put your thumb, which is actually going to aid in recoil management, but there is also here on the takedown lever an extension. This is not considered a gas pedal, but those are really large, but this is just a little bit more, so when you're bringing your support hand, it's a natural place to put your thumb. And this is going to hold on to the firearm and keep muzzle rise down to a minimum. And it is really effective. We use this quite a bit. There were times where I didn't quite get my thumb onto the pedal itself, and sometimes it can give you a little bit of discomfort until you get used to it. But then once you really realize where that thumb needs to go, you just really feel like you've got a solid grip on the handgun. Now with the slide stop, we're going to bring that back. It is kind of nestled in between this extended frame safety and your slide stop. So it's a little difficult to get to. And so you can't really engage your frame safety. And so it's right here. And so you just have to get a hold of it and come in directly. One thing though for me is typically when I'm racking the slide is how I usually charge my firearms. But that is one thing to note. But guys, with that beaver tail coming in, putting it on the controls, I mean, it really gives you a solid grip on this little Beretta 92. Now if you're right-handed, that's great. If you're left-handed, you're not going to be able to get that, but you will be able to get that little frame safety here. Now the barrel has a black satin finish on it. It is 4.9 inches in length, and I think it really contrasts well with the black grips and the black controls. But it really makes a beautiful firearm. Now this was actually designed to have faster cycle time, and part of that is the skeletonized hammer. It's a little bit lighter weight, and yet it has a standard competitive hammer spring, which is lessened. So you're going to have less trigger pull here. It's going to have less dwell time. You're going to be able to get back on target quicker. And that's what affects the reset in the trigger pull, is it's a 40% decrease in reset. That makes it really fast. Now here we have the Beretta M9a3. This was designed to compete in the government trials when the U.S. military was looking to change from the Beretta M9 and then ended up choosing the SIG M17 or the P320. Of course, the Beretta didn't make it, but there were a lot of changes on this pistol, and I'm seeing a lot of those things carried over to the Performance Center. One is the Vertec Grip, more straight, Picatinny rail, and a lot of the other features as far as the silhouette. But one of the things, it does keep that decocker there on the slide, and then of course your controls are a lot smaller. And so, you know, those are some things, but the biggest part is that this is an all steel frame while this is an aluminum alloy frame. So it's considerably lighter. One thing you also notice is the trigger guard on the performance model is rounded off, while on the M9a3 it is more squared off. And also there is more of an undercut right behind the Picatinny rail, which we don't have on the M9a3. Weight on the 92X Performance, 3 pounds, 0.4 ounces. Weight on the Beretta M9a3, 2 pounds, 0.8 ounces. That's almost a solid pound difference between these two firearms. Now I wanted to shoot the two pistols side by side just to see what the difference is with the felt recoil. There was a little bit more muzzle flip with the M9a3, but with the 92X, with the heavier slide, you did feel some recoil coming back, but it seemed to snap back in line quicker. And I think that is one of the biggest things with competitive shooters, is getting back on target really fast. And with that heft of the 92X, it just seemed like it was very pointable and you had something really to grip in your hand. So while you might not be able to tell as much by watching it, by firing it, there's definitely a difference. Tell you what, guys, that trigger is phenomenal. The reset is so fast, it's just unbelievable compared to the M9a3. And of course, even any other 92. That is a beautiful trigger that comes straight from the factory. Really appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammunition, all made right here in the USA. We're gonna put this little 92X through its paces. Also, Lula Loaders, we appreciate those guys for saving our thumbs. Now, one of the things about a Beretta 92 is with this open slide design, there's not a lot of stovepipes, there's not a lot of issues with reliability. With this particular model, it's really beefed up, it's really heavy. So when you take it to the range, it just reduces the recoil. And so it gives you a really hefty feel to the pistol. It's very smooth shooting. Berettas are already super smooth. I mean, their slide coming back is just really easy to come back. And it just makes it, when you're at the range, there's something about that smoothness with the firearm that I really love. Now with the 92X Performance, you have added features, whether it's some of the controls where you can use them to really help also mitigate the recoil. So it allows you to really shoot very flat, and yet you can get fast target shots and get right on target. It's a very pointable firearm. With the Vertec Grip, it's a little bit smaller, and for me, having just kind of medium-sized hands, I really prefer that. So it allows me to have a large pistol in my hand, but I don't feel like I'm carrying a 2x4. And yet there is that other grip option where you can put it on there and bring back that little hump that comes with the standard 92, which honestly a lot of people prefer because they're used to that. The sights are excellent. The fiber optic sight at the front really shows up, and then you've got that adjustable rear sight that makes it really easy to be able to adjust. One of the things I love about that front sight is being dovetailed. You know, it does allow me to switch that out if I want to, unlike some of the earlier Beretta 92s. That frame mounted safety, I love it. One of the things about the original Beretta 92s is when you hit the decocker, it drops the hammer, and then you've got to lift that decocker back up to take it off safe. And that can be very confusing, especially in a self-defense situation. Of course, you can get the G model cocker where when you hit it, it pops it right back up. But there's nothing better than having that frame mounted safety. And then it allows you to carry it cocked and locked. And what that does is it gives you consistency from the first shot on. If you're shooting double action, that first shot is a long trigger pull, and that second shot will surprise you if you're not used to it. The trigger is fantastic. I mean, this trigger is just a beautiful thing. And it's funny, the double action trigger pull is excellent, but you're not really going to need that double action trigger pull because really you have to actually manually bring it back down. So you're going to be shooting single action every time. Overall, no malfunctions, just shot like a champ. And guys, if you like Beretta 92s, you're going to love the Beretta 92X Performance. Now for disassembly, we're going to drop our magazine. Again, check to make sure the gun is unloaded. Then all you need to do is just push this button on this side and then bring down your lever, and the slide just comes right off. We have our recoil spring. It is a full guide rod. It's not captive. Then we have our barrel system. This has a locking cam here, and this will come out, but I'd leave that. I mean, it's not that difficult to put back in, but that's part of the system. The frame is solid, but you can see it's got really beefy rails front and back, and that's really going to help this slide just to glide on this frame. Here we have our firing pin block, and you'll notice that this little lever at the top pops up, and that disables your firing pin block. And that's all we need to do to field strip. For reassembly, just drop in your barrel. It's kind of a little bit of a different design. It fits down into the slide. Bring in your recoil spring and guide rod. Bring it back over our frame. Slide lock. Bring up your lever. Drop the slide. Test for function. Again, that little lever is somewhat difficult to get right here for the slide lock. Now it comes with an exceptional case. It's nice and solid. Here we have two little levers that pop up, and then we have a combination lock right here, and you can set that to whatever combination you want. Then we open it up. 92X performance, of course the extra magazine, your lock, mag loader, your extra grip, and also the tools you need, and you have an owner's manual. And this is a very concise owner's manual, but it does come in multiple languages. The MSRP on the Beretta X Performance is $1,499. And honestly, for a competitive pistol with all these features, that's a really good price. But at GunZoneDeals, they're running $1,274.99. And we really appreciate GunZoneDeals for sending the Beretta 92 Performance for this review. Now with pros and cons, just the 92 design is very reliable with that open slide design, so you have a lot of confidence with reliability. Also, it's a proven design, again being used by the U.S. military since 1985, but used 10 years prior to that in a lot of self-defense situations, so it's a really proven design. One of the big downs is that it is heavy, but that's a plus as well. It's according to what you're going to use it for. If you're wanting to carry this concealed carry, you're going to have a time. I mean, it is heavy, but a lot of guys will still do it. But one of the things that gives it an advantage is in competitive shooting, man, it just is a flat shooting firearm. And then taking it out to the range, it just makes it more of a pleasure to shoot. You can really focus in on your accuracy and your sights. And then of course with these extra controls, it just allows you just to wrap your hands. You feel like you know where your fingers need to go. It's a really cool way to shoot the gun. Of course, with all the upgrades, there is a price difference. And so, the price is up there more than your standard 92, but you get what you pay for. And if you're a competitive shooter, this is going to be a great gun just to take straight out to the range, I think, with all the different features to it. But for a home defense gun, it makes a great option as well. So the Beretta 92X Performance, this is a fantastic firearm. Again, very proven, and one that I have really enjoyed. And we really appreciate the guys over at GunZoneDeals for sending the 92X Performance and giving us a little taste of, just the upgrade and really the peak of the Beretta 92. I really like my M9a3, which was also sent by GunZoneDeals, so it gives us a good comparison. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Suit00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Has a really generous, what is this? This magazine in. I'm not pleased with any of that. That is covered. I don't like that either. I don't like that either. Oops. The Beretta, this was actually designed to compete in the Beretta, then we take our, is that right? Yeah. Get you a deal at the Gun Zone. And Nate, this is a fantastic pistol. I really enjoyed it.